because it's a very long stretch that you're doing, or?
The length.
The length, all
Yes.
right. Any questions from this end?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is for bidding out the work to local contractors, right? The estimated cost here. Is that correct?
Yes, we've toyed with a couple different ideas, as far as financing. Would you do this as an emergency, at which point you'd contact a couple contractors and obtain bids for them? Would it be a capital bond ordinance, and then at that point we would go out to bid and it would be public bidding, open bidding?
Well, I wanted to ask a different question, which is if we said we were interested in having the resources in-house to do this work, what would you need from council to make that happen, and what would it end up costing? Do you have any idea?
I can respond to that, Bob. In the past, when we've done that, the resurfacing in-house, we've used the paving machine that we own jointly with Lawrence Township, but that paving machine is in disrepair. And what Lawrence has been talking about is having to replace it. So it means that Lawrence would have to be on board to replace that machine, and what I've been hearing from Lawrence is they don't have the manpower to continue that paving operation, so it would take some real convincing to have them come up with 50% of the cost. What I see here is we really need to move quickly to really preserve the integrity that we currently have in those roads, and we just can't wait months before we do the work.
So I'm not disputing that. I just bear with me and I realize it's late, but what is the cost that we're talking about for that machine? Are we talking about something comparable to this even before we get started, or are we talking about $50,000? What are we talking about?
To purchase a paving machine?
Or to repair the one that we've got?
What Lawrence has said is it needs to be replaced. We'll be talking the order of magnitude of $350,000, $400,000.
And then the in-house resources to actually do the work, would it add up to this? Would it add up to more than that? What are we?
It would at least add up to this if you factor in the cost of a machine, and the in-house resources are pretty well stretched at this point, as I understand.
I'm actually talking about new resources because I assume that you don't have the staff available. The reason I'm asking the question is because I heard Mr. Ruff say, this is just the beginning. You correct me if I've got that wrong, but we are only partway through the season. We expect more major construction that could be comparable to what we're seeing here, and we have a pothole repair bill which could be a few $100,000 on top of that.
Yes.
So we are talking real money here, and the question is whether it makes sense for the municipality. We've had 3 major substantial weather incidents in the past 3 years. We've had Irene, Sandy, and now this. And I think there was even one the year before that didn't get a name on it. So it's a question of what is the best long-term approach for the town, and I understand the need for speed, and if there's just no way to do it in-house, I understand that. But if there is a way to do it, I would like to understand what the options are. I think we all would like to know.
Sure.
Patrick, I think one of my concerns is that Public Works has done paving very well at times over the last couple of years, depending on the street, the volume of traffic and whatnot that they've been on. You're in very heavily, and they do it for 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe out of a whole year. So it's not what we do. We do it okay. It's not the best thing we do. We take our resources, we have a couple of guys, we put them out there with the rest of them, and it's almost a learning experience sometimes when you only do it 3 or 4 weeks out of the year. We haven't done this in 2 years, some of this. I think because of the nature of these intersections, you really should go and get a paving contractor that does this for a living. That can come in, can fix these potholes, these areas, these depressions, can mill this out, and this is what they do. This is how they make their living, is paving roads. That's my personal opinion.
And if I could comment
for the municipality.
If I could comment further, the roads that the Public Works Department's done in the past has been local residential roads. With these roads, they're all main arteries. You want to be able to get in and get out so that we're all not getting telephone calls why isn't the road opened up?
Okay, well, I did not know that. So the township in the past has not done comparable projects to
The
this.
township has never tackled main arteries like this.
Like this.
We might still want that paving machine, though, because it's not just the big roads that are in bad shape. Yeah, Ms. Cronwell.
Right, I think it's always a good exercise to question, decide what if we did take more paving in-house. I think it would be good to look at the economics of it, since we now have a lot more roads total. And just from this budget presentation, if we can pretty much anticipate how many miles we're going to do every year, it seems like a good idea to look at it.
Well, I'd question whether this is really the right time to start looking at policy decisions about how much road work we do in-house and how much we contract out. Because if we're faced with an issue of potholes and potholes disintegrating into larger potholes and potholes stretching out so that the whole road deteriorates, maybe we need to address this issue quickly and get it done quickly, and then come back to the policy issue about how we deal with longer term.
Yes, I'm sorry I wasn't clear on that. I meant down the road. We should look at that.
Maybe you should ask.
It seems like we need to do this.
I think so. After I listened to CFAC, yes, I do
Okay.
think it's something we should look at.
We can put it on the Public Works Committee agenda. And what are you looking for from us for this?
A check.
What I would suggest council do is if you are in favor of moving forward, which certainly we support from our vantage point, that the engineering office be authorized to get the bid documents together and get the project out on the street, so we can do that. In the meantime, we have talked in-house about how we're going to finance this, and it's likely we're just going to recommend that we go through a traditional method, which is going to be that you're going to introduce a bond ordinance, probably at your next meeting, adopt
We're
it.
supposed to pay in cash. Were you listening to the other presentation?
That's an option. Even if you authorize the debt, you never have to go out to do it. You can pay it in cash, but that way you'll have the time while we're going through that to look at your capital budget and say, we're either going to add this to the capital budget, replace something out of the capital budget, or regardless. But I think we're going to ask you to do a traditional financing and not just arbitrarily go in and grab $800,000 out of your surplus and say, we'll pay for that cash. That may be what you do. But what we want to do is get that process started, then you can have the debate over the next, month as to how you want to actually pay for it.
So as long as we're going to pay for it one way or another, the financing and the contracting can be separated, the authorization can be separated, is that right?
Correct, yes. Yep.
Who wants potholed roads?
I'll move that we authorize this money or whatever we need to do to get it going.
Authorizing the engineering office
The sense of the council is please move forward, I think.
to get the bid documents together, get it out on the street, and in the interim, Kathy and I and Sandy will work on the alternatives for paying for the project, and then you guys can decide how you want to do it.
Okay. I don't think we need to vote. We're just giving you our intention, right? Is that what you want, or you need us to vote?
No. Go do, yeah.
Okay.
Why we wouldn't vote.
All right.
And one thing I want to mention, one of the things that Bob Huff and I have been talking about is Harrison Street, and we have a contractor who's available to move in quickly, and if we could work that out, what we'd like to do is do a change order of one of our existing projects, just to get the contractor in there to do Harrison Street, because that's number one on our priority. So if we can work that out, we'd like to proceed.
Sounds like a good idea.
According to police, we've had a few near misses out there.
Thank you. One other question, if I may. On Nassau Street, which we're not responsible for, I understand that totally, but on Nassau and Harrison, right on the corner, where Graves, yes, right near Remax, there's a crater there that your tire goes in and you're going out like you're in a desert or Grand Canyon. I mean, it is unbelievable. So everyone's swerving around, and I'm just a matter of time before they're going to hit someone. And it's a state highway, so that's...
Lance, we weren't aware of that. I'll call dispatch tonight.
Thank you.
And let them know.
Thank you.
Okay. We have an ordinance public hearing tonight. Ordinance creating, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor reports, or are we
An
done
ordinance
with?
creating a no parking zone Oh, did I forget something? Yeah, reports. Thank you.
Sorry.
And I feel really bad, Trishka, I meant to introduce you, and I can't see you. So we have to have you sit where I can see you, because it went on my mind, but welcome. And I'll introduce you better at the next meeting. Yeah, Ms. Howard?
So we've had our final round of interviews for the health officer, and we have strong candidates, hope to identify someone by the end of the month, and we'll make sure when that person starts, they come meet council. We've been really well served by our interim health officer, but state law requires we have a health officer, so we're making very good progress, and I hope we'll be really excited about somebody we get. And just for the record, for the one person in the audience, just to update on the process for selection of the chief of police, Bob had previously outlined a process and a timeline. Our focus is on being open and transparent and having a robust process, and we are adhering to the process that we laid out, and it was on our closed session agenda earlier, and we want to invite public comment and input, and hope to continue moving forward to the public component of the process.
I want to report on our subcommittee on the ordinances. I think we all, that we're looking for a meeting to get a bunch of the ordinances finished. We have, the big one is going to be, or the big two are going to be the administration chapters. We'll tackle those, and then we have the peddlers ordinance, which you probably didn't even know we had, pay to play, and corner house. Those are ones that are pretty much ready to go, and we're coming in on the home stretch for the shade tree ordinance and the environmental commission ordinance. So that's what's going on with that. I also wanted to tell you about a meeting that Bob Huff, Janet Palachero, and I had with Sandra Flight. She's the head of source reduction for the Bureau of Recycling and Planning from the DEP. And we met with, there's a committee from Sustainable Princeton and the Environmental Commission that's talking about the waste program, and we had an initial meeting with her about ideas for reducing our how much garbage we produce, which is also it's good for the environment, and it also can save money.
Mr. Miller?
Two reports. First of all, the annual deer control program has been completed. White Buffalo took 127 deer. The bow hunters took 6, a total of 133 deer removed, and that's pretty consistent with previous years. The numbers have ranged between a little less than that and a little more than that in recent years. Secondly, the Mass Transit Trust Fund received 10 proposals in response to its RFP. The trustees met on the 5th of March to review the proposals. The trustees decided that 4 proposals merited further consideration, and the authors of those proposals will be invited to meet with the trustees for further discussion on the 11th of April. A 5th proposal is set aside to be funded from another source, and a 6th proposal was deferred pending the identification of a local organization that would assume responsibility for managing the project and delivering the proposed service to the intended user community.
Thank you.
Just reporting that Corner House's benefit this year will be April 11th, 2014 at Green Acres. And another thing with Corner House, we're keeping an eye. I don't know if you're aware, but in like Ocean County and Hunterdon County, there is a rise in heroin. Heroin has dropped down significantly in costs, and we're keeping an eye to see if it's tries to maneuver its way in our area. So we're definitely looking into that. And so far, we haven't seen it. We've been lucky, but
Lance, the Board of Health is also really interested in that, and we've been talking to the police department, and they have not seen it.
Not seen it yet.
Confidential informants, they have not seen it locally, but definitely a concern.
Yes, it's a big concern. It's also big in Philly now. In Philadelphia, heroin is gigantic. Also, the affordable housing, we do have, I believe, between 4 and 5 homes, affordable homes for sale, and we have contacted the same realtor we used before, and she's going to be listing these affordable homes that we have for sale in Princeton. So if you're interested, please get in touch with Christy Peacock at our affordable housing department. Thank you.
Just quickly, the spring and summer activities brochure is out electronically. There'll be a few copies around the municipality, the library, et cetera. It has the park maintenance update and also a parks and open space guide, kind of a grid. It's really nice, has all the spring and summer activities. And I think it'll probably be on our website, and it's on the Rec's website. Traffic and transportation, anyone who has any thoughts about overnight parking, street parking, now's the time to speak up. And as you heard Jack West earlier, you can talk to me. And
Are you on that subcommittee?
Well, yeah, yes, sort of, yeah, the subcommittee. Yesterday, I attended the dedication at the Stonehill Church, and yeah, it was lovely. And I thought it was quite nice that in their prayers, they kept the Regional Planning Board in their prayers and thanks. So you want to pass that along to the Regional Planning Board.
No report.
I just had a couple reports. One was I partnered with Enroll America, which is the group that is working to get out information about the Affordable Care Act. And there was an event at the library that was well attended by members of the Board of Health, which was great. And the deadline for enrolling is March 31st. The Human Services Department has information for people who don't have insurance who want help navigating the system, because it's not completely easy. And I know there's been a lot of advertising about Pi Day events. One event that I want to super plug is there's going to be a nighttime bike ride. And there's these little synchronized blinking lights. It's going to be around the CP path. So if anybody wants to ride their bike at night with a flashing light, come on out. And are there any staff reports? No? No? Okay. I ran out of batteries, so I have to borrow. All right, we're back to our, oh, thank you. Yeah, do you need it? No. Okay, so we're back to the ordinance public hearing, an ordinance creating a no parking zone on a portion of Scott Lane and amending the code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. I'd like to open, hopefully nobody was here for this earlier, but I want to open the public hearing. And seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. And is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Ms. Crumiller. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Howard?
Yes.
Ms. Crumiller?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Liverman?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Simon?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And now we come to the resolutions. The first one was the 2014 goals list. And Ms. Butler, you said you had a correction for that?
Couple things. One is on the parks, the Create Parks Commission, that wasn't my understanding of where we ended up. And, you know, we sort of have, with these changes in the rec, taking in all the maintenance of the parks, we basically kind of have a Parks and Rec thing working, although that it's not called that. And then we have an open space manager and arborist who is under the Public Works. I think you expressed some interest in monitoring and maintenance of trails, and I don't necessarily think that that's a task force issue. I think if we want to hire somebody to do that, and we may, depending on what happens in Public Works, we don't need a task force. I think we just need to decide administratively that that's something that we're interested in doing. So I'm not, you know, I don't know if that's a little bit got in there left over from last year or not, but that isn't sort of what I remember the conversation being.
Right. I put that back in there because I think the conversation was that that the group was working on it and there was going to be a report. When we talked about the goals, that was the situation we were in, and then,
you know, what group was going to make a report?
That the Parks group was gonna, my concern is that report came out from staff, but that the group didn't necessarily know about it. So
Okay.
I think there just needs to be
They
a...
sort of Pam just kind of disbanded the group. Pam Mackel, the chair, sort of said they were finished at a point mid last year. So I'm not sure she really intended to make a report. And I think basically the changes on the staff encompassed a lot of the things that they thought weren't happening but are happening. And so
Okay, well, we can...
want to focus on trails, that's something else, and I think that we can, but I'm not sure we need a commission. Really, it's just going to be manpower and hiring somebody, so.
Well, can we put the rec department there instead?
Yeah, we can take this one off for now. I want to circle back with some of the people, because I've heard some rumblings of people thought they were going to be meeting again, and then were confused, and so there's probably just some miscommunication there. So that's fine if people want to take that off, and we can put it back on if there's renewed interest and renewed need.
The other thing is, on the dashboard, the create a public dashboard, my intention was not really to create a public dashboard, but to create more of a management dashboard, and I think that Kathy might be able to do that with some of the services that we are, what's the name of the company, Bob Brochure? Revelstone, that we sort of want to see what they're going to be able to contribute to the process, but it's not really a public dashboard. It would be more either administratively or even for council, and I'm happy to kind of work with Kathy on that, but it would be us identifying things that we want to monitor.
Not the public.
Not necessarily, although maybe after we've identified things that we want to use it for, maybe it would turn out to be something that the public could use.
Why don't we just take out the word public where it's mentioned?
Sure. And you might add Kathy to that, and, with Revelstone. That's it for me.
Anybody else on the goals?
I'm just going to raise a caution flag. I think we've put together a very daunting list of things to be done for the balance of this year. And my concern is that we not set ourselves up for failure by biting off more than we can possibly get done between now and the end of the year. So I think that I'm not opposed to adopting these as goals, but I think we need to revisit them periodically and make sure that we can actually deal with them in the time that we have available.
That's a good point, and there are 3 tiers here with the colors. So blue, I think we all agreed that we absolutely need to do no matter what. The green ones are the ones that were identified by more than one person, so we should probably give those higher priority, and the pinks are somewhat up to the person whose initials are on the right-hand column to push them through. And just to follow up on Bernie's point, I think we have to be careful in our boards and commissions as liaisons there to make clear that the staff is full, and that in terms of bringing things to council and major projects, we've identified what we're going to be working on. So that things can be worked on within the different committees, but we can't have a whole lot of extra projects on top of this, since this is what we agreed to. But with that, and with Joe's recommendations or fixes, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Liverman and seconded by Ms. Butler. Did you have a comment?
I just have a comment that's, I should have said in the reports, that the planning board is going to have a public meeting pretty soon on the Witherspoon zoning. So we'll let you know as soon as we get that date set up.
Right, and if enough people want to go, maybe we have it.
We're having it in the evening. We're having it in the...
No, but you could notice it jointly so that members of council could come.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we should do that.
Very nice.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes. The next one, and I don't know if there's comments people have, or if people want to move these in block, the next set of resolutions.
I'm happy to move them in block.
Okay, so this is 14-70, the agreement, SHI to Cisco Catalyst 3750 managed switches, contract TEC-06 not to exceed $15,906.88. 14-71, relocation of New Jersey Transit Bus Stop, Alexander Street at Basin Street. 14-72, Louis P. Rago Esquire, Conflict Counsel, Zoning Board of Adjustment, not to exceed $7,500. 14-73, resolution authorizing tax assessor to file and settle tax appeals for 2014. 14-74, to request New Jersey's Recreation Trails Grant Program to be restored for 2014. That was moved by Ms. Krummeller. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those resolutions passed unanimously. And now the consent agenda. Are there any items anybody would like removed? Seeing none, item A, bills and claims. B, maintenance performance guarantees. Fagon Electric Incorporated, traffic signal improvements to Washington Road and Faculty Road, release of performance guarantee and acceptance of maintenance guarantees subject to receipt of concurrence of the County of Mercer, who will be reimbursing the municipality for the signal installation. 14-75, appointments for boards, commissions, and committees.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Mr. Liverman and seconded by Ms. Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Bernie, can we wait on the cable? Do folks want to debrief after the 6 p.m. or should we do that later, given the hour? Later? Is that okay?
We could do it quick. Oh.
Do people want to move into closed session for a quick closed session?
I would like to get some guidance from council
Okay, all right.
on how to proceed with negotiation with PCTV. And I think that's best done in closed session.
I make a motion that we move into closed session.
Second.
I was wondering if you want to do it right now or...